Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good night. Actually, I guess it's afternoon for me. It's morning for some of my listeners, but whenever you happen to hear this, good day to you. I appreciate you coming back. We're doing clean food today for Yehovah. Same thing we saw in Leviticus 17, I think it was. But I want to do a backtrack just for a short time. This clean food's going to go pretty fast, though there are some very interesting things at the end of chapter 14 that are going to blow your mind. There are such abominations. Wait till you hear what's going on. You know, I'm so distraught with the things that I see in Deuteronomy that don't agree with the rest of Torah. I find that disparaging. Let me go to 12, because I want to redo some things that we've talked about in the past, if you don't mind. In 12, it started out like this. Remember, these are the statutes and the judgments which you shall be careful to observe in the land which Yehovah, your Elohim, Yehovah, your father's Elohim, is giving you to possess all the days that you dwell on the earth. But look what it says, verse 2, and then verse 3, and then verse 4. Y'all, remember the green is always second person plural. Talking about all of Israel, all of the Ezra men. He's talking to men. He's always talking to men. Y'all shall utterly destroy all the places where the nations which you shall dispossess serve their Elohim. Elohims. It's in plural. On the high mountains, on the hills, under the green tree. And you shall destroy their altars, break down their sacred pillars, burn their images with fire. You shall cut down the carved images of their Elohim and destroy their names from that place. The images are the Elohim's names from that place. That's what they're talking about. Their names there is the Elohim's names. Who are we talking about? Let's look at it in the context of today. Yehovah is coming back. He's going to raise up his people. And we are going to dispossess the nations who are on the face of the earth. We're talking about pastors here. Well, let's do this. We're talking about churches. These are the places where other Elohim are worshipped, not Yehovah. I sounds like Israel Seed is going to burn all the churches, the courthouses, the capitals, the city halls. Do the Elohim who work in them teach men to serve only Yehovah? And how to become his spiritual seed? Absolutely not. If anything, all these places, the churches, the courthouses, the police stations, the city halls, the District of Columbia, they're all turning you away from Yehovah. Breaking down their altars. You know, churches have altars. Churches have carved images, especially the Catholic Church, loaded with carved images, crosses, things that we are worshiping. But it says, look what it says, the very next verse. It says, you shall not do so to Yehovah your Elohim. That's what it actually says. You shall not do so. Asa, do means do. You shall not do to Yehovah your Elohim. What are we going to do? But you shall seek the place where Jehovah your Elohim chooses out of all your tribes to put his name and for his dwelling place, and there you shall go. We have an invisible Elohim right now. We don't have a place where we can go. So I see this chapter, in a sense, talking about not doing the things to Yehovah what the nations did to their Elohim is, I guess, the only way I can say that. The next thing he talks about in this chapter is meat that we eat. And it mentions in verse 16, only you shall not eat the blood. You all shall pour it out on the earth like water. Then he goes on talking about meat again. If you're further away from the temple, we're really far away from it right now. We have none. When Jehovah thy Elohim, verse 20, enlarges thy borders. Now he's talking to each individual man. Thy borders. Each Ezra man. Don't think for a second that when Jehovah says you or thou, that he's talking about the peoples of the earth in general. He's not. The New Testament would have you believe that Jehovah loves the world, doesn't he? You know what? He doesn't. He doesn't. Even his people, if they won't obey him, they're going to get curses. What do you think the rest of the earth is going to get? They're all under a curse. But I think it's interesting that he says, do not eat the blood, for the blood is the life. Thou may not eat the life with the meat. Now, look what it says here again at the bottom. I'm going to start at verse 29. When Yehovah, thy Elohim, cuts off from before thee the nations, ha-goyim, which you go to possess, and you displace them and dwell in their land. Take heed to thyself that thou art not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before thee, that thou do not inquire after their Elohim, saying, how did these nations serve their Elohim? I will do likewise. Oh, that's a bad attitude. We're not going to do that. Now he says exactly the same thing. Same words exactly. Thou shalt not do so to Jehovah thy Elohim. Remember, he's talking to the Ezra men, those men who are in covenant with him. Now, that said, let's go to Jeremiah. I want to go to Jeremiah 10. I think it starts right at the beginning of Jeremiah. Go to 10. Here we are. Hear the word of Jehovah. Oh, hear the word which Jehovah speaks to thee. Maybe you or y'all, I forget who it is. Let's see who it is. If we're talking to thee or no, to the second person singular, or second person plural. It's you. Hear the word which Jehovah speaks to you, O Israel. He's talking to Israel. Thus says Jehovah, do not learn the way of the Gentiles. Isn't that what we're just talking about? What do not do and worship how they worshiped their Elohim. Do not be dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the Gentiles are dismayed at them. Signs of heaven. Oh, we follow lots of signs of heaven. How about the winter solstice? The longest day of the earth, longest day of the year. or the spring equinox, when the days start to get longer. Christmas and Easter. For the customs of the people are beautiful. For one cuts a tree from the forest, the work of the hands of a workman with the axe. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers so that it will not topple. They are upright like a palm tree, and they cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot go themselves. Do not be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, nor can they do any good. Talking about Christmas, folks. The winter solstice. You know, the winter solstice is a pagan belief. Christmas. You think it's an accident that they had this golden calf born on the winter solstice? That we're going to celebrate his birthday on the winter solstice? Saturnalia. That's what this day has been for centuries. It's an orgy. It's a drunken orgy at that. Now, let's go to, here, I bet I can go this way, since I pulled it up earlier. That's right. No, Ezekiel 8:16. Look what it says. He brought me into the inner court of Jehovah's house. Talking about the temple. He's in the temple. And there, at the door of the temple, between the porch and the altar, they're outside the temple, on the stairs, and they're looking east. They can see the altar immediately in front of them. And what are they watching? Look what it says. Between the porch and the altar were about 25 men with their backs to the temple of Jehovah and their faces towards the east. And they are worshiping the sun towards the east. Folks, this is where we get the Easter sunrise service. Easter. It's also a pagan holiday named after Ishtar, the goddess, love goddess of the earth. And we read that in Sodom and Gomorrah, it was at that time, remember the winter solstice goes on for like 12 days. At that time, we had an Easter for at least a week. The men were going out, taking their women and their daughters to share with the other men of the city. It was a big orgy, celebrating the beginning of spring. Again, the spring equinox. Both sides of the spring, on both sides, are the same daylight hours and nighttime hours. Now the days are going to start getting longer. But this is where the Easter sunrise service comes from. So now, let's go back to where we were in Deuteronomy 12. We're going to go to 13 now. We're doing 14 today. 13. Oh, I'm in Ezekiel still. Sorry. Let me go back. Let's just do it this way. Deuteronomy 12. Here's Deuteronomy 13. Okay. Now it says, if there rises among y'all a prophet a dreamer of dreams, a pastor, an evangelist, a politician, who says, let us go and serve other Elohim. Elohim, which you have not known, see verse 2. And let us serve them. See, we talked about the things in the last chapter. Now we're talking about the people who are having us go other places. We talked about this last week. We called them Belial's seed, worthless and evil men who are causing the people to serve other Elohim. He says, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer of dreams. For Yehovah, your Elohim, is testing you to know whether y'all love Yehovah, your Elohim, with all your heart and with all your soul. He says, you shall walk after Yehovah, your Elohim. Fear him. Keep his commandments, his voice, and his voice. You shall serve him and hold fast to him. What does the next thing say? But the prophet and the dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken in order to turn you away from Yehovah, your Elohim, who brought y'all, talking about Israel's seed, out of the land of Egypt. You know what? He brought me out of the land of Egypt into his spiritual kingdom. I left my Elohim behind, gave back their ID cards. Don't need it. Who brought you out of the land of Egypt to redeem you from the house of bondage, and to entice thou from the way. This is what the dreamers were going to do at the desk if they're trying to entice us from the way in which Jehovah your Elohim commanded you to walk. So you shall put away the evil from your midst. Oh my goodness. They're corrupt men. There they are. Belial men. Here's the word. Belial's seed. Men have gone out. Belial's seed from among you, and have misled the inhabitants of the city, saying, let us go and serve other Elohim. Elohim, which ye have not known. Isn't that what the pastors do? Don't serve Jehovah. His commandments are all passed away. Don't you know? See, this is where we're at, you guys. Now, look at how it starts today. My New King James says, you are the children of Yehovah, your Elohim. Is that what it says? Who's he talking to? Say, my next door neighbor, who doesn't know shit about the Bible, reads this. Is she or he or they, just so you know which neighbor I'm not talking about, going to think that they are the children of Elohim? See, this is what happens. We don't know what this says and who the you is. Again, it's Israel's seed, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. Really, what this says is not children. It says sons. I'm reading right here on the right-hand side. Sons. Banim, ye are to Yehovah, your Elohim. Sons, ye are to Yehovah, your Elohim. Here's Rothersome. They said, sons, ye are unto Yahweh, your Elohim. Sons. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the sons of Yehovah, his Ezra man. For as a man, a young man, I'm reading from Isaiah 62:5. For as a young man, Baals marries masters, is really what it's saying, masters a virgin. So shall thy Baal, so thou shalt. I guess that's how I got to write it. I'm doing it a little bit different. So thou shalt Baal thy sons. Talking about this is as a man, Baal's a woman, so Yahovah shall Baal his sons. Sons. This is not ladies. These are as a man. As a bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall thy Elohim rejoice over you, is the inferred reference there. Now, look what it says. You shall not cut yourselves, nor shave the front of your head for the dead. Apparently, the pagans, those who are not Jehovah's seed, those who are not following Jehovah, are shaving their head for the dead. He says, we're not to do that. Now, here's Leviticus. It kind of had something similar to this. This is Leviticus 19. You shall not shave around the sides of your head, nor shall you disfigure the edges of your beard. And cuttings for the dead. Here it is. This is for the dead. He's not telling you that you can't have a beard. He's not telling you you can't shave. He's telling you don't do it for the dead. In your flesh, you shall not make any for the dead, nor tattoo any marks on you. I am Yahovah. Now he's going to talk to the priests. This is in Leviticus 21, 1 through 6. And Yahweh said to Moses, speak to the priests, Aaron's seed, and say to them, none shall defile himself for the dead among his people, except for his relatives who are nearest to him. Who are they? His mother, his father, his son, his daughter, his brother, also his virgin sister, who is near to him, who has not had a husband. Wouldn't do it if she's already married. For her, he may defile himself. Otherwise, he shall not defile himself, being a chief man among his people, to profane himself. Now, what does it mean to defile himself? Do you realize if you touch anybody who is dead, or if you go into the presence of a dead person in a house, you're unclean? The priests, they have to stay clean, don't they? They can't defile themselves. But because this next portion is in the same, connected to the scriptures, not realizing that people tend to think defiling yourself is what I'm going to read next. They shall not make any bald places on their heads, nor shall they shave the edges of their beards, nor shall any cutting, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. This is what we're talking about, cuttings in your flesh. Oh, I guess they didn't have cuttings in your flesh. They just had shaving your head. This one for the dead. But cuttings in the flesh. They shall be holy to their Elohim, and not profane the name of Yahovah, their Elohim. For they offer the offerings of Yahovah made by fire. That's what they do. If they're unclean, they're going to be defiled. We're still talking about being defiled. Then they can't do the things that they need to do at the altar. But this is just general. This is just people in general. Ye are the sons of Yahovah, your Elohim. He's talking to all of Israel's seed here. All the other men. Bnei Israel. That's what he's talking to. Bnei Israel. Doesn't include ladies. Look what he goes on to say. For thou, now he's talking to each man separately. For thou are a, for you are a Kodesh people. I think I wrote that a little bit differently. For you are a holy people. Kodesh, thou. He's talking to each man separately. To Yehovah, thy Elohim. I haven't changed these. They're still say you. To Yehovah, thy Elohim. And Yehovah has chosen thee to be, I don't know, to be his for an Yehovah has chosen thee to be his for an Talking each man separately. A special treasure. A segula is the word that they're using there for special treasure. As a man, but as a woman, she becomes his special treasure, bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh. We, the other men, are Yehovah's special treasure. Look what he says. Above all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. Don't all the peoples on the face of the earth think they're his, that they are Yehovah's, that they are Yehovah's segula? They're wrong. We've learned lies. Now, here's even another one that goes with that whole idea. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice, keep my covenants. Isn't that interesting? 19, keep my covenants. We had just kept his covenants some 6 weeks before at Passover. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice, keep my covenants. We did it at once at Passover, but we need to do it. We need to continue. We do it every year. Then thou shalt be a segula. To me, above all people, all for all the earth is mine. I think it's so interesting. Here we're talking about in verse 14, a special treasure above all the people of the earth. Now it's verse 19 of Exodus. He's talking about to all the people, to me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be a kingdom of priests. Jehovah only has male priests, and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak to Israel's seed, the other men. B'nai Israel. How can I make this more clear? Now look what he says. We're going to talk about clean food today. So the very next verse says, thou shall not eat any detestable thing. Again, Jehovah is not talking to the Gentiles. Those who are citizens of other countries and who serve other Elohim. I want to say so much, but I don't want to go too far. He starts out on 4. These are the animals which you may eat. The ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roe deer, the wild goat, the mountain goat, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. This is not an exclusive list, folks. Here's the exclusive list. And y'all may eat every animal with cloven hooves having a hoof split into two parts, and that chews the cud among the animals. Got to do two things. It's got to have a split hoof. It's got to chew the cud. You know, on my blog, here I'm going to turn to it just briefly. Here it is. I wrote about clean foods. Here it is. It's got its own posting. Clean foods. Under clean foods, you see clean animals, clean fish, clean birds, clean bugs, and then meat sacrificed to idols. It goes along with what we talked about 2 weeks ago in chapter 12. And if you go down to the bottom of it, I've got links to all those animals, clean fish, clean birds, clean bugs, and meat sacrificed to idols. Oh, that really challenged me, changed my life. I eat much differently now since I have that understanding about meat sacrificed to idols. Leviticus 17. Oh, that was Leviticus 17. Must have been Leviticus 11 that talks about clean food, because, yeah, that was Leviticus 17. So back. He goes, verse 7, nevertheless, of those that chew the cud or have cloven hooves, you shall not eat. So if it has just one or the other, you can't eat it. Such as these, the camel, the hare, the rock hyrock. They chew the cud, but they do not have cloven hooves. They are unclean to you. Also, the swine is unclean to you. That's pig, folks. Pork chops, pork feet, pork fat, skins. I have somebody that sells skins next to me at the flea market. Also, the swine is unclean for you, because it has cloven hooves, yet it does not chew the cud. You shall not eat their flesh, nor touch their dead carcasses. Can he be more clear than that? He goes on. These y'all may eat. No, these y'all may eat from all that is in the waters. You may eat all that has fins and scales. Fins and scales. Of all the things that come out of the water, we can only eat the things that have fins and scales. A whale has fins, doesn't have scales. A most common catfish has fins, but it doesn't have scales. We don't eat catfish. Whatever does not have fins and scales, you shall not eat. It is unclean to you. Now he talks about all clean birds. You may eat, but you shall not. Now, this is interesting. He doesn't tell us what are okay. He just simply says they're all okay. Except he's going to give us now things that we are not supposed to eat. But these you shall not eat. The eagle, the vulture, the buzzard, rock kite, the falcon, and the kite, after their own kind. I have this on. I don't. That's much better. After their own kind. Where was I? After their own kind. There it is right here. We're on 14. Every raven after its kind. The ostrich, the short-eared owl, the seagull, and the hawk after their kind. Little owl, screech owl, white owl, the jackdaw, the carrion vulture, and the fisher owl, the stork, the heron after its kind, and the hopi and the bat. So we can eat all clean birds, except for those birds. Now look what he says. You may eat all clean birds. Oh, I guess that's where we were just at. No, here. Verse 19. Also, every creeping thing that flies is unclean to you. They shall not be eaten. But then he goes back to birds. That's so weird. Because in Leviticus, he talks about animals, fish, birds, and bugs. And there is a clean bug that we can eat. It's called a locust. Why is it not here in Deuteronomy? Here, I'll show you. All flying insects that creep on all fours shall be an abomination to you. Yet these you may eat of the flying insects that creep on all fours. When they say creep on all fours, it's a metaphor for on all their feet. With those which have jointed legs above their feet, with which they leap on the earth. These you may eat. Now, this is my interpretation. I put these you may eat. The locust after its kind, the destroying locust after its kind. Oh no, this isn't my word. This is their words. They've said cricket and grasshopper. Wrong. It's all locusts. Here they are right here. This is Urban Bible and this is Rotherham. They both say exactly the same thing. Swarming locust, devouring locust, targol locust, and kagav locust. Targol and kagav locusts, kagav locusts after their kind. And here they said exactly the same thing. Swarming locust, devouring locust, chargol locust, and kagav locust after its kind. Even Yasher talks about this and talks about the kazal, that's the swarming locust, the salam, I assume, is the devouring locust, and then it's got the kargal locust and the kagal. I guess that's not the same, but it's similar. But they're all locusts. Locusts, each of its kind, which devoured all the hail had left behind. So now after they got the hail hit their crops, then the locusts came and devoured everything that remained. And the people actually rejoiced, thinking, oh, good, we're going to eat the locusts. So they salted and did all the different things for the locusts. But unfortunately, by the time they had done all the work, Yehovah even took them out, and they disappeared from the earth. And Yahweh turned a mighty wind to the sea, which turned away the locusts, even those that were salted, the dead ones, and thrust them into the Red Sea. Not one locust remained within the borders of Egypt. On my blog, here it is again, we have, oops, that's not the right one. I'm going to go here. We have unclean. And if you go to the bugs, I'll spell it out much more clearly for you so you can understand what's going on. There it is. But I even have some recipes at the end. Some yummy recipes for locusts. I haven't had locusts myself, but I guess I would in a pinch if it ever came down to that. At least I know that they're edible. and okay with Yahovah. Now, we're talking about clean food. Whoops, what did I do here? Oh, that's what I accidentally opened. I don't want to do that right now. We're talking about unclean food. Clean and unclean food. But I want to just point out something to you that maybe you haven't considered. Have you ever thought about, what do they call it? The sacraments. This is the flesh. This is the blood. We're going to eat the flesh and drink the blood. Even though Yahovah says we don't drink blood. Yet somehow the Catholic Church has given us this sacrament. I think it's so interesting that it comes from the Catholic Church. Because who is the Catholic Church? The synagogue of Satan. Do you know the ninth circle sacrifices that are going on underneath the Catholic Church? The cannibalism that's going on, eating the flesh, drinking the blood. How about adrenochrome production? Do you think that's going on underneath the Catholic Church and under so many churches around the world and other places, not just churches? A lot of the children for this adrenochrome production comes from where? Orphanages. Catholic orphanages. Oh, it's all coming out. It's all coming out. But again, we do not do so to Yahovah, our Elohim. They eat their children. They sacrifice their children to their Elohim even. Now, he's going to switch from eating clean food, the last thing we had was you may eat all clean birds, to this. You shall not eat anything that dies of itself. Who is you? See, this is where it begins to become a little bit more clear. Because these are men have ger, usually a ger, who dwells with them. I think it's a disciplement process, actually. The ger joins himself to one of the Ezra men, and the Ezra man teaches the ger the ways of Yahovah for a whole year. Then at Passover, the ger can circumcise himself, all the men of his household, and become an Ezra man. And that's how we're going to multiply Yahovah's kingdom on the earth. But here it says, you shall not eat anything that dies of itself. You may give it to, it says, the alien. You know what it really says? It may give it to the ger, to a ger, who dwells within thy gates, that he may eat it. Or you may sell it to a foreigner, a nokri. Nokri. For you are a holy people. There it is, Kodesh Am, to Yahovah, saying it to each man separately, thou. For thou art a holy people, the Kodesh Am. For you are a holy people to Yahovah your Elohim. Now, look what he says. 21. He ends it by saying, you shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. The rabbis will have you believe that we're not supposed to eat milk and meat in the same meal or on the same plate. No, folks, this is a pagan practice. Mother's milk is supposed to be life to her young. boiling her young in it is a perversion of what Jehovah intended. It is something the heathens do. Now, why they have this in the middle of this thing about something that dies of itself, I don't know. But now it's going to get really strange. Look what it says in verse 14:22. Thou shalt tithe all the increases of thy grain that thy field produces year by year. You guys, this is where the tithe comes from. The tithe comes from two places. I'm probably going to talk about it here, but I'll mention it just quickly. It comes from the ground, because this is what Jehovah has produced for us, or it comes from the flocks or the herds. That's the sheep and the goats, or the cattle, flocks and herds. Because Jehovah is who multiplies our flocks and our herds. That's what we tithe on. It's not about money. It's not about what we earn on a weekly basis, like the church would have you believe. It's a scam, folks. Tithing in the church is a scam. You don't bring that money to the church. It's not something that we do. It's a doctrine and tradition of men. And they love certain verses, but they don't teach you where the tithe actually comes from. And we're going to learn it today. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy grain that the field produces. Here's what it actually says. It says, thou, it is a thou. Let's fix that since there's not too many of them. Thou shalt truly tithe is a tenth, all thy seeds increase. That's what it says. Thy seeds increase that the field produces year by year. Do you hear the difference? Israel tithes on all things that Jehovah multiplies for them. From the land that he has given them, the increase of the land and the herds and the flocks. Now, that would be on oil. That would be on wine. If we did grapes and we turned the grapes into wine, we're going to tithe on the wine, because that's something that Jehovah has given us. But look what it says now. And you shall eat, in a sense, it's inferring it, before Jehovah thy Elohim, in the place where he chooses to make his name abide, the tithe of thy grain. There it is. So we're going to eat. We're going to eat. This is what Deuteronomy is saying. The tithe of our grain, thy new wine, thy oil. Now it says, of the firstborn of thy herds and thy flocks. I'm talking the firstborn of thy herds and thy flocks, not the tithe, the firstborn of thy herds and flocks, that you may learn to fear Jehovah your Elohim always. Folks, unless you know Jehovah, unless you know his words, you'd read right over this. You don't even think about it. Are we going to eat the tithe of our grain, our new wine, our oil? Are we going to eat the firstborn of the herd and the flocks? The answer is no, not a chance, folks. This is a flat-out perversion. Let me show you some things. This really makes me angry. And this is what I see all over Deuteronomy. We saw it last week. We saw it the week before. I put, what? We don't eat our tithe. What is What is going on here? The Levites receive the tithe of the land and the herd and the flocks. Then give a tithe of the tithe to the priests. When Israel harvests their grain, let's say their barley crop, 10% of that is going to go to the Levites. The Levites are going to take a 10% of that and give it to the priests. Of the herd that we multiply each year, and the flocks, the sheep and the goats, we're going to run them all under a rod. And every 10th one of those new herds, male or female, doesn't matter, whichever the 10th one is, it's going to go to the priests. Then we're going to do it with our flocks, sheep and goats. Every 10th one of the flock is going to go to the Levites, regardless, again, whether it's male or female. Doesn't matter. We don't eat it. What are they talking about? But it gets worse. Well, let me just read this. But this portion does not agree with that understanding. Consider these. Here's tithe. Tithe in a verb is this, and written a little. This is actually tithe. This is the noun tithe. This is the verb tithe. So we give a tenth. Anyway, I put, and all the tithe of the land, whether of seed of the land or the fruit of the tree, is Jehovah's. It is holy to Jehovah. That actually is a scripture. I'm not sure where it came from. And concerning the tithe of the herd, of whatever passes under the rod, the 10th one shall be holy to Jehovah. But it says, for the tithes of Israel's seed, Bnei Israel, the Ezra men, which they offer up as a present to Jehovah, I have given to the Levites. We're not going to eat it. We're going to give it to the Levites as an inheritance. That is their inheritance. Therefore, I have said to them, among Israel's seed, they shall have no inheritance. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak thus to the Levites, and say to them, when you take from Israel's seed the tithes, which I have given you from them as an inheritance, then thou shalt offer up a present to Jehovah, a tenth of a tithe. That's what's going to go to the priests. And your present shall be reckoned to thee as though it were the grain of a threshing floor, and as a fullness of the winepress. So as Israel's seed gives the fullness of their threshing floor, a tenth to the Levites, so the Levites are going to give their portion that came from Israel's seed's threshing floor to the priests. Same with the wine, the fullness of the winepress. Thus thou shalt offer at a present to Jehovah from all thy tithes. Still talking to the Levites, which thou received from Israel's seed. And you shall give Jehovah's present from it to Aaron the priest. It's going into the priest's coffers. Is it even for the priest? It might even be all priests. The firstborn of the herd and the flocks seem to go to the priests. We just said that we're going to eat it. Look what it says, verse 14. Of the firstborn of the herds and the flocks, that you may learn to fear Jehovah. It says we're going to eat it. No, we're not going to eat it. Here's what we do with the firstborn of our herds and flocks. It starts in 18. Everything that opens the womb. We're talking about the matrix being opened. We're talking about males, Bekor. of all flesh, man or beast, which they bring to Yahovah, whether man or beast, shall be yours, talking to the priests. Nevertheless, the firstborn you shall redeem, you shall serve the firstborn of man, the Bikor of Adam, you shall surely redeem. And the firstborn of unclean animals you shall surely redeem. He's going to explain it now. And those redeemed of the devoted things you shall redeem when is 1 month old, according to your valuation, for 5 shekels of silver, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerahs. The firstborn of a cow, the firstborn of a sheep, or the firstborn of a goat, you shall not redeem. They are holy. You shall sprinkle their blood on the altar, burn the fat at the offering as an offering made by fire for a sweet aroma to Yahovah, and their flesh shall be yours. He's talking to the priests about this. They're going to pour the blood on. They're going to burn the fat, and the meat's going to be theirs. Their flesh shall be yours, just as the wave breast and the right thigh are yours. He's referring to when we bring in a shalomim, just something that we're slaughtering for our enjoyment, to have for our family. When we're doing a vow offering, when we're doing different kinds of offerings, a present to Yahovah, we give the breast and the thigh to the priests. We wave it before Yahovah. That's the breast that we're waving, and the right thigh. We're waving them before Yahovah. So and that goes to the priests. So that's what he's talking about. But here in Deuteronomy, it looks like Israel's seed is eating them. What the? Folks, we've learned lies. We got to learn to think. We take all this Christian shit, doctrines and traditions of men, and we protect it. We defend our doctrines and traditions of men, and we don't even know what Yahovah actually says. Well, it's in Deuteronomy 12. This is what we read a couple weeks ago. Let me just read it to you. You may not eat within your gates the tithe of your grain, or your new wine, or your oil. Of the firstborn of your herd, you can't eat it. Or your flocks, you can't eat it. Of any offering which you vow of a free will offering, of which you vow as your free will, or a heave offering. So we're talking about, we can't eat the tithe, we can't eat the grain, well, the tithe of the grain, the tithe of the new wine, tithe of the oil, the firstborn of the herd, the firstborn of flocks. We just saw where they all go. Or any offering which they'll vow, your free will, or of the heave offering. It's a present before Yahovah of your hand. But now look what it says. But you must eat them before Yahovah your Elohim. No, we aren't going to eat them. We don't eat the tithe. We don't eat the firstborn. You and your sons and your daughters, your male and female servants, bullshit. But that's what Deuteronomy says. Or the Levite who lives within your gates. When does Yahovah ever talk about a Levite living within our gates? We have a ger who dwells with us. We have a ger who lives in our gates. But that's it. There's no Levites living within our gates. And you shall rejoice before Yahovah your Elohim, to which you put your hands. To all to which you put your hands. Folks, this is corruption. You can't even see it if you don't know Yahovah's words. And we're not even through the chapter yet. This is one verse. This is Deuteronomy. All the firstborn males, they're always males. They are being redundant. We're talking about the core. Bakor are males, Bakara are females. All the firstborn males that come from the herd are your flocks. You shall sanctify to Yahovah your Elohim. You shall do no work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flocks. Folks, they're dead. They can't do any work. They're going to be given to the priests. You shall do no work with the firstborn of your herd. Ignorance. You and your household shall eat it before Yahovah your Elohim year by year in the place which Yahovah chooses. What? We're going to eat the firstborn year by year in the place where No, we're not, guys. This is perversion. We're going to talk about that next week. Here's 14:24. But if the journey is too long for thee, so that you are unable to carry the tithe, or if the place where Yahovah thy Elohim chooses to put his name is too far from thee, when Yahovah thy Elohim has blessed thee, then, look what it says. This sounds okay so far, but look what it's going to say. Then you shall exchange it for money. Take the money in thy hand and go to the place which Yahovah thy Elohim chooses. Now we're going to give the money to the Levites? Are we going to give the money for the firstborn to the priest? No, look what it says, 14. And thou shalt spend the money on whatever your heart desires. For oxen, for sheep, for wine, or alcohol, similar drink. We're talking about alcohol, fermented, similar drink. Yeah, they put similar drink. Here's what it actually says. Intoxicant, alcoholic liqueur. No, this is whiskey. Bourbon. Are we going to spend the money that we got from our tithe, from our firstborn, on ourselves? Ridiculous. How does the priest survive? How do the Levites survive? But yet we read this. Oh, don't you know that every word in Yahovah, every word of God is true? Oh, God. I mean, even in the good books, Genesis, Leviticus, Numbers, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy are Numbers. There's mistakes, lots of them. We find them all the time. But in Deuteronomy, these are more than mistakes. These are perversions. And thou shalt spend the money for whatever thy heart desires, for oxen, sheep, for wine, similar drink. For whatever your heart desires, you shall eat there before Yahovah your Elohim, and you shall rejoice, thou and thy household. Remember, we're talking about household. We're not talking about mom, dad, and the 2 kids. We're talking about men, because it's all the men who appear before 3 times a year. All your males shall appear before Yahovah. We read it just a couple weeks ago. I've got it, but we've gone over it in the past. You can go listen to it. But who actually comes to the feast? Yeah, it's all the men of thy household. That's who we are with. That's who we're with. Now, look what it says. Again, verse 17. Thou shalt not forsake the Levite who is within your gates, for he has no part nor inheritance with you. Didn't we just read that the Levite has an inheritance? Here's the inheritance. The tithe of Israel's seed, which they offer as a present to Yahovah, I have given to the Levites as an inheritance. This whole thing is perverted. Let's go back down where we were. We're not done with this chapter yet. You shall not forsake the Levite who is within your gates, for he has no part nor inheritance with thee. Bullshit. That's what the tithe is all about. He gets the tithe, and he doesn't live within our gates. Levites have a city. Each tribe has to pick out 2 or 3 cities for the Levites to live in each of their territories. The bigger tribes do more than 3, but the smaller tribes do 3. Now look what it says, talking about the tithe. Oh my God. Oh my Elohim. At the end of the year, at the end of every third year, what is that? Thou shalt bring out the tithe of thy produce of that year and store it within your gates. What? We're going to store our tithe in our gates? And the Levites, because he has no portion nor inheritance. We just read he does have a portion and inheritance with you. And the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are within thy gates may come and eat and be satisfied, that Jehovah thy Elohim may bless thee in all the work of thy hand which thou dost. Now, first of all, there's no Levite living within our gates. We have a stranger who lives within our gates. The stranger works with us, and he eats our food just as we, the family, eat our food. The fatherless and the widow, they don't get our tithe. The Levite gets the tithe. We take care of our fatherless and our widows, the ones who are in our gates. We don't take care of Babylon's widows. We don't take care of Babylon's fatherless. By the way, an orphan is a fatherless child, not a motherless child. A single parent household that just has a mother is an orphan. She's a widow, and she's rebellious. And the fatherless child is an orphan. We take care of those people in our gates. That's why we have multi-generational families. That way we can take care of a widow if one of our brothers, one of our relatives dies. We can take care of the widow and the fatherless. Again, the stranger, he's there learning about Jehovah's ways, and he's going to leave in his own land once he partakes in the Passover, circumcises himself, and partakes in the Passover. He becomes an Ezra man. He gets his own land. And we're going to get a new gear next time. And so it's a continual process of growing the kingdom. Well, I find, probably you noticed it from my attitude, I find this very frustrating. I put, what? The Levite has no inheritance, has no share in his tithe in the third year. So in the third year, we're not going to give it to the priest. We're not going to eat it ourselves, according to Deuteronomy. We're supposed to give it to the Levites. What is the year of tithing? The year of tithing, the third year, the year of tithing. Don't we tithe every year? What then is the third year of tithing? The third year of every 7 years? Every third year? We already saw that this does not work. 1428, we saw where it goes. The tithe goes to the Levites. This is Deuteronomy 18 again. What do I have here? Yeah, we just read this. We read that in this verse here. Okay. This Deuteronomy 26. Yeah, here Deuteronomy 26 is going to say exactly the same thing. Are these scriptures in Deuteronomy more perversions? So you shall rejoice in every, I'm reading on the right here, folks, just so you know. So you shall rejoice in every good thing which Jehovah your Elohim has given you and your house, you and the Levites, and the stranger who dwells among you. When you have finished laying aside all the tithe of your increase in the third year, the year of tithing, what ridiculous nonsense, and have given it to the Levite, the stranger and the fatherless. No, we don't give it to the stranger and the fatherless. And they make your gates and be filled. Then you say before Elohim, I have removed myself. I have given that to the stranger and the fatherless. That. Is the men. I've done them. Oh my God. You got to put on your thinking. Look at, see this right here? Question everything. Question. Is the Levite supposed to get all the tithe? Or are we supposed to eat it where Jehovah puts his name? Or are we supposed to store it up every third year for the Levites? And this is poison. But you can't see it if you don't learn to think. We have learned lies. You know, one of these days, I'm going to tell you about the two psyops, deep state psyops, that have been perpetuated. Is that the word I want? Perpetuated on the earth to hide Yehovah and his ways from you. Oh my goodness. We don't even know because we've accepted so many things that are lies as truth. Father, forgive us. Open our eyes so that we can see. Love Yehovah with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. By keeping his commandments and his statutes and his judgments and his ordinances. That's the only way you show Yehovah that you love him. Not by following the golden calf, folks. You're learning lies. The golden calf was given to you by the Catholic Church to turn you away from Yehovah and his statutes and judgments and ordinances. Actually, that's one of the two psyops. I can't tell you the other one right now. You can't handle it. You can't handle it. You're so entrenched in the doctrines and traditions of men. But I'm going to try to help. I'll probably do some videos on those psyops. I have so many videos that I'd like to do. I've been really waiting for the truth to come out so that you can see how many of these lies have been. You know, we've taken Vatican. It has taken Vatican. The paperwork that was underneath the Vatican, true Bibles. I bet he's not going to be in. I bet it ends with But if you accept the truth, oh, the poor Levite, he has no inheritance. Yeah, he's got a inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
Probably has more inheritance than each individual man in the kingdom. Because remember, he's getting a tithe from all the guys.
Yeah. I'm thinking their angle on that is discouraging good people to, well, I guess you're a Levite, but just, I guess, I don't know, making it seem like it's a bad job, the Levites have.
Yeah, I hope God's going to appoint Levites, and he's going to appoint priests eventually.
Yeah.
We will have that again.
Right.
That's why tithing is so fictitious. We don't tithe of our money.
10%.
Yeah, that's such bullshit.
That's the only thing the preachers like about the Old Testament.
That's exactly right. That's what